Today we've got this Versys 1000 in for a full service, and man, what a beast this machine is. Let's fire it up once. Just listen to that roar. Alright, first things first. We're removing the seats and starting to strip down the body panels. Once that's done, the battery gets disconnected and we're ready to move on. Next up, we're taking off the fuel tank. That's where the real magic begins. Because underneath the tank lies the airbox and inside it, the air filter. Check that out. That's the condition it's in right now. It'll be cleaned up real nice as part of this service. Now, as soon as we remove the bottom part of the airbox, we get access to the throttle body. We are taking that out for a deep clean, and yeah, it definitely needs it. Just look at it. Moving on, we pull out the ignition coils, which sit right above the spark plugs. We need to check those plugs, clean them up, and make sure everything's firing right. Now, one of the most important checks on this bike, the cone set bearings. To get to those, the front wheel has to come off. So first, we tie the bike down with ratchet straps and jack it up safely. Once that's done, we remove the front tire and the mud guards, and then it's time to work on the front forks. And guess what? The left fork is leaking oil, so we'll be replacing the oil seal on that. Before we take the forks out, we loosen the top bolts of the shocks, which makes disassembly much easier once they're off the bike. Next step, we loosen the lock nut and slide the forks out. With the handlebars out of the way, we can finally access the check nut to get to the cone set bearings. Now here's the deal. The cone set aren't in great shape. We've already placed the order and the new set should be here in about an hour. So until then, we're heading to the rear section of the bike. First things first, we removed the silencer because it was totally gonna come in the way. Our main mission, take out the swing arm. Next up, boom. Out goes the brake caliper and then the rear wheel. Step by step, we're getting closer. Now for the final move, removing the swing arm itself. And no, we're not replacing it. This is all about showing some love to the bike by greasing the swing arm bearings, the shock mount bearings, wheel bearings, and all the moving parts in between. Let's get to it. First, we clean the swing arm thoroughly. We cleaned and greased the swing arm bearings along with its sleeve. The shock absorber mount. Yep, that's cleaned and greased too. And of course, we didn't forget the bearings on the shock absorber and its sleeve. Cleaned and greased like brand new. Once all that's done, the swing arm goes back into place nice and smooth. Now we shift gears onto the rear brake calipers. Cleaned them up real good. Then we gave the rear wheel bearings a fresh coat of grease too. And finally, once the rear wheel is fitted back, we can officially say the rear section of the Versys 1000 is fully serviced. Now it's time to move on to the cone set replacement. And guess what? The new set has just arrived. But before we get into that, we had to knock the old one out. Here are the brand new cone set bearings we ordered, looking fresh. With the new bearings in place, we gave them a good layer of grease to keep things smooth. Before installing the lower T-plate, we prepped the top bearing with some fresh grease as well. Once the lower T was in, we dropped the top bearing in position and locked it down with the check nut. After that, the handlebar goes back into place and we tightened everything up using the lock nut. Next part of this major service, throttle body cleaning. We sprayed it down thoroughly using a throttle body cleaner and just look at that result. So much better now. Then it was time for the spark plugs. Here's a quick before and after. Massive difference. We installed the fresh spark plugs back into the engine, followed by the cleaned up throttle body. Now to sync the throttle body, we need to fire up the engine. So we mounted the fuel tank temporarily just to get that done. We hooked up the vacuum gauge to the throttle body and got the sync spot on. Now remember that left fork that was leaking? Good news. The new oil seal finally arrived. Using a special tool, we carefully dismantled the fork, drained out the old oil, replaced the worn out oil seal, and put everything back together. Then we topped it off with fresh fork oil to keep the suspension buttery smooth. Once the fork was fully sorted, we mounted it back onto the bike. Before fitting the front wheel, we gave the front wheel bearings a good fresh coat of grease. Now on to the rider's special request, swapping out the old floppy indicators with these sleek new ones. We'll get that done in just a moment. Also, check this out. That air filter, now it's squeaky clean and ready for action. Next up, we bled both the front and rear brakes to make sure the stopping power is right where it should be. Previously, we had the throttle body back in place. Now it's time to assemble the airbox. First up, we dropped in the freshly cleaned air filter, then sealed the airbox shut, locking everything in neatly. Check this out. Here's the new oil filter ready to go in. And remember those new indicators the rider wanted? They're installed. And man, they look sleek, don't they? Now on to today's real star. We are using Schaeffer's 10W40 engine oil for this Versys. There's a full video explaining why we choose this oil and all its awesome benefits. If you want to check it out, message us for the link. We'd love to share it with you. Before handing the bike over, we always make sure it's sparkling clean. After a proper detailed wash, the Versys 1000 is ready to hit the road again. Want to know which bike rolls into the workshop next? Stay tuned too.
Kives Customs.